family, how you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love Intuitive Conversations. I hope you guys are good. Yeah. If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, please do keep that on your side of the street, okay? Won't be acknowledged. So, family, in this video, I'm being guided by Spirit to talk about chasing. About us chasing. Spirit wants us to stop chasing. Stop chasing whatever it is that you're chasing. Whatever is consuming your mind every day, right now, whatever is stressing you out, whatever you're worried about, wherever you have fears, you're chasing. Spirit says stop chasing. Stop chasing people who are running and acting like they want to be set free. Where are you in denial about the fact that you're chasing people who are running and acting like they want to be set free? Are you in relationships and situations where, you've been brainwashed into believing that chasing is a sign of caring, is a sign of loving, is a sign of your devotion? Chasing is a sign of your presence. Are you in relationships and situations where people are acting like they want to be set free, and that can manifest in behavior in different ways in everybody's life and situations, right? What do you categorize in your mind? If you were to be honest with yourself and recognize where maybe you might be in a bit of denial or in a bit of self-sabotaging negotiation within yourself about whether something does look or whether something is or isn't someone behaving like they might internally, be emotionally and energetically wanting to be set free. How could those things be manifesting in, or showing themselves in the relationships in your life? And where does your denial of that have you in a place of chasing? Where does your denial of that have you in a place of being consumed and wanting to, control the situation? Wanting to, a form of chasing as well is you feeling like you need to compromise yourself and adjust who you are and what you are to try and, keep what maybe doesn't want to be kept, to try and hold in place something that might be trying to or is yearning to be set free or acting like it wants to be set free. Where are you afraid to set it free, to see for yourself? Does it want to be set free, or is it going to stand and stay? Is it going to be present with me? Why do you run after something that wants to be chased? Do you recognize yourself running after things, people that want to be chased? But for some reason, they also don't want to be caught. Where is your chasing putting you into a place where you're going to start resenting people? Where you're living in a place of not being conscious about how you having to chase somebody is putting you into a place of feeling rejected, putting you into a place of feeling like, unacknowledged, unheard, misunderstood. Something to think about, huh? Where could you be chasing and latching on? Latching on is also a form of the energy of latching on is chasing, right? And if you're latching on, if you're so consumed that you don't even realize that you find yourself latching on to something or someone, take the time. Take a breath, recognize where you're directing too much energy and focus and mind space onto latching on or chasing something or somebody. Stop, ask yourself. Stop, think, and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Why do I feel like I need to latch on to somebody? Why am I afraid of somebody running away? Why am I afraid of being left? If it's fear, then take some time to sit with your fear and have a conversation with your fear. Talk to your fear. Understand your fear. And by having a conversation with your fear, you're going to also get to, learn something different and new about yourself. Something new and different that is outside of what, your programming has you constantly putting all your energy and your mind space and your focus and your action into. Where are you chasing feelings? Where are you chasing when, where are you chasing a feeling? Where are you chasing an experience? Because those are things as well, when you start taking the time to stop and look at what it is that you're chasing, whether it's, again, a feeling or an experience, you don't actually allow yourself enough space and clear mind to recognize what actually wants to come to you, because your mind is focused on what you believe you need to chase, what you believe you need to latch on to, what you believe you need to have, that you don't even have the moment or the time or the breathing space or the thought space or the sight and vision open enough to recognize what might have already come to you, what is with you, what is coming to you, or maybe a different direction you need to look in and direct that energy towards that has you consumed and chasing in one area, right? Where is your ego? Where has your ego? Where has status? Where has the ideas you have around more, right? The ideas of increase. Where do all of those things have you consumed and chasing? A lot of the things that you consume your mind with around chasing are also the things that consume and use up the most energy, because you're focused on it, you're directing your action and your energy, your everything. In most cases, even your conversations are focused around these things that you're trying to chase. Programmed into, consuming your mind around chasing women and scrolling on the Instagram and, constantly feeding yourself with all kinds of things. It's a lot, right? And again, it all becomes completely unconscious, mindless. Women always consuming one another and themselves with the ideas of talking about men and relationships and, whatever it is. these things that constantly have you emotionally worked up, engaged, constantly triggering your issues unconsciously, moving into a space of competition because now you're chasing the feeling of not, chasing the feeling opposite to not feeling rejected, not feeling excluded. All of these things are unconscious and what you're consumed with because the focus is on whatever it is that you're chasing in your life. The focus is on whatever it is you feel you can't attain or need to attain or need to keep in place or need to control. Another form of chasing, trying to get somebody in your environment to act right. That's a form of chasing. Trying to get somebody to act right, you need to stop and think and recognize that that's also that's a form of self-rejection, right? If somebody's in your environment, if you've latched onto somebody in your environment that you're trying to get to act right, because you can't accept them as they are in your environment, but you've latched onto them not because you care about who they are and what they are and what they stand for and who they are as an energy and as a person, but you need them to satisfy your fears. You need them to satisfy your abandonment issues. So their presence, the way they are, starts aggravating your issues. And you now have to chase them and cover them in your energy of needing them to act right. So you can be comfortable with them being in your environment. Completely throwing out the window that we live in a world of free will, right? And again, getting people to go against themselves, trying to take over other people's free will. And it's a layered and it's a complex issue. It builds imbalance within the universe that eventually needs to be balanced out. But we're wrapped up in our ego, we're wrapped up in our fears, we're wrapped up in our emotions, we're wrapped up in our thoughts. We're consumed with all the things that we think we don't have, that we need to get, that we must have right now, and that we need to control, right? So we throw out the window all the other things. It's too unsafe to release. It's too unsafe to just relax. It's too unsafe to fall back and move into a place of observation, of self first, and then observing your environment and allowing it to just be. Don't chase things in your environment. Don't chase feelings. Don't chase emotions. Don't chase your urges. Can you chase an urge? I'm talking about the feelings that, your urges are born out of. Don't chase those things. So, yeah. Don't spend your energy running and chasing after things that don't want to be caught, okay? If someone isn't able to stand with you, being present for them, to be present with you, if somebody doesn't want to walk beside you, but they need you to chase you and they don't want to be caught, let them run. And you can stand present for them as long as you want to, or you have the free will and you have the power to walk the other way. And if that's something you're afraid to acknowledge, if that's something you're afraid to do, if it's something you're in denial about, if you have a whole bunch of excuses from A to Z, A to Z, about why not, why they should, then you need to again sit with yourself and ask yourself, why do I feel that way? Why do I perceive the situation this way? Why am I willing to chase? Because surely, if it was meant for me, if it wanted to be with me here, it would be with me here. You will never miss anything in this lifetime that is meant for you. I promise you. You just need to meet it on its vibration. You need to also allow it to come to you. A lot of the time, the things that we chase, the things that we embark on in our lives that are based on, or that are fueled or motivated out of our ego, or out of the things that the system has programmed into us to focus ourselves to. Eventually down the line, sometimes it may not work at all. And other times, depending on how persistent people are, they say fight for it. You gotta fight for it. The moment you stop fighting for it, if it's not meant to be, it'll disintegrate. But if it's meant to be, and if it's aligned with you, and if it's meant for you, and if it's something that's also been assigned for you for this lifetime, you won't have to fight. And even if once you have it, it'll also be protected, and it'll be with you as it's meant to be with you. But like I said, we have free will, and we all have our own life plans, and sometimes our own issues hinder other people also from moving forward on their own life plans, from moving onto the path that they need to move onto. And sometimes the people you run after, the people that you latch onto, beyond your sight, okay, energetically, they're probably being pulled in a different direction. A lot of the time when people are running away, it's not all about you. Most of the time, it's not about you. But we're programmed to be victims. We're programmed to take things personally. We're programmed to want to control people. We're programmed to want to make people fit the mold of what has ever been, of whatever we've absorbed and taken in with what's been programmed to us around the characteristics of certain labels and dynamics that have been projected to us, right? That also, it can make people who, the moment it becomes, visibly imposed onto somebody, that you want them to fit the mold of a label that you believe is going to satisfy you, that you believe is going to bring balance and equilibrium to a dynamic or a relationship. Emotionally and energetically, it starts becoming claustrophobic, because you restrict and limit the next person from being able to operate out of their own free will, out of their own heart space, and out of whatever it is that they're naturally trying to act out of. Instead, you're telling them, you're literally either verbally, aggressively, moaning or pleading and constantly on their back about trying to get them to fit a mold that you hope they can, fit to satisfy you in a situation. Not even realizing that it's having the opposite effect. It's pushing people away, because nobody wants to be restricted to those. Nobody wants to be restricted to those labels and the limitations of the labels. And however the labels, trigger and affect your internal issues. Because you're going to impose the label onto the next person you believe is supposed to satisfy whatever void you believe you have, right? To the point that is satisfactory for you. It completely rejects them as a person and as their own being and as their own energy. And you get so wrapped up in chasing somebody to fit that label, to fit a certain dynamic that you believe you must have, that you believe you must aspire to, that you believe or have been programmed in your life means you've made it, right? You've achieved something that's been programmed to you as a milestone. You need the person who comes into your life to fit that mold. It's a lot, it's draining, and it makes the next person feel like they're insufficient, like they're not enough. And you don't even realize, by expecting somebody to fit that mold, by expecting somebody to embody a label to satisfy you, is an energy out of you being projected to them that you reject them. Trying to manipulate and control somebody means that you're living and embodying and projecting an energy of judgment, projecting an energy of non-acceptance, projecting an energy of rejection. You're not in an energy of unconditional love. Okay? So recognize, the person who's running is not the only person with the issue. The person who's chasing has an issue as well. And if you're the one chasing, stop, think, and ask yourself, why am I chasing? Why am I consumed by this? Why do I need this so badly to be a specific way? Why am I so rigid and not open to any other way, dynamic, or solution? Because many times, if you're chasing, you're not even open to maybe a different solution the divine might be trying to bring into you. Maybe that person is meant to run. Maybe your energy and your vibrations just don't align. But your fixation and your programming overrides all the other things that might actually really be happening in the reality of the situation. Right? So, stop chasing and recognize where, take the time to think where it might be that someone is internally, energetically, and emotionally running away. And also, they might not be where you are. You might not be where they are. Okay? And that also can cause people to run away, can cause people to chase. And then there's friction and there's conflict, and you're becoming trauma issues to one another. You trauma bond. Now you've created spiritual ties with one another because now you have to balance out the trauma. Now you've created karma for yourself because you're both fighting. You're fighting someone's free will. And this person is, cheating on you because they don't want to accept that, they're behaving in a way that says they don't want they don't want to be they don't want to stand beside you, or they don't have the confidence or the have the guts within them to be honest and say, I don't want to stand beside you. I don't want to walk beside you. I don't want to be kept. I want to be set free. So they cheat. And it can be consciously or even unconsciously. Because most people aren't even fully conscious about what they have going on inside themselves. They just go and they do things absent-mindedly. And then they think, not even thinking about, because of what they have going on inside, they're not even thinking about how it's going to affect you, who maybe is in a completely different perspective and mind space and understanding of what your dynamic and situation is all about. So step out of your programming, recognize where you're chasing or in an energy of chasing. Try and take some time by yourself to really be honest with yourself about what your thoughts and your mind and your actions are motivated by and consumed with. What are you dedicating your energy and your time to? When you're talking to friends, when you're talking to family, when you're talking to your partner, what is it that's the main point? What's the main point and focus of what is the substance of the usage of your words in those situations? Those are good indicators to let you know what you're consumed with, what you're latching onto, what you're chasing. And for you to evaluate and, get real with yourself, recognize where you're in denial, and recognize where maybe you need to release, relax, let go, observe, allow, where you're not being in a place of living and acting and engaging with others, lovingly and unconditionally, where you're consumed with your control issues, which you probably are in denial about, right? Where you're trying to find some sort of perfection in the next person, or expecting the next person to take responsibility for where you need soothing, where you're feeling lack, where you're feeling, neglected, where you're not even, open, evolved, mature, or understanding enough to also understand the next person has a life that they also need to get through. The next person has an experience that they're also dealing with. The next person also has issues and things within themselves that they need to ground and balance out and awaken to, and that they're living out of and acting out of unconsciously. The next person also has imbalances and things within themselves that they don't even realize they're acting out of. They're also consumed with things that they're chasing. Okay? So, just as a side note, how do I say this? After my experience throughout my last years, I've learned that, it's best to get into a relationship or have certain relationship dynamics with people after you've taken the time to work on yourself, after you've taken the time to work out where you're operating out of your programming, where you're, imbalanced, where you're in a place of need and expecting the outside world to satisfy, soothe, and balance you out. Because if you don't balance those things out, again, you become a drainage and a trauma, and you become a weight to the next person or to somebody that you hope to have in your life. You start choosing and bringing people into your life that are, that are there from all the places of you that haven't been worked out, that are there that you've pulled in to satisfy things within you that you haven't worked out. And in most cases, those people are also low vibrational and haven't worked themselves out. So you start creating imbalances in each other's lives. You start building karma between one another that then in your future has to be balanced out once, you know, these issues get so far out of balance that they have no choice but to snap back into a state of equilibrium, right? Which is trauma. You get knocked and you run into a wall because you've become so far out of balance that you have no choice but to sling back, right? So I'm gonna stop there. I'll pull a card. I hope this has made sense. I hope I haven't rambled too much and it made you think a little bit, helped you go within and introspect. Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna pull a card today from the Flower Therapy deck, okay, by Doreen Virtue, and see what Spirit has to support our conversation or give somebody who's watching our video a nudge in a specific direction. Okay. Oh, that fell out quickly. Communicate with your angels. Okay. You don't have to do it all by yourself. And when you take the time to stop and think and ask and look at yourself, ask Spirit to help you see beyond your denial, to help you see beyond your programming, to help you see beyond your fears, to help you see beyond your emotions, so that you can have, have a true idea and a true perspective and vision of yourself, and not one that is cushioned by the fears of all the things that you're not willing to admit or recognize within yourself. Have Spirit be present with you when you're doing these things. And don't be afraid. I've said it before, don't be afraid of yourself. Don't feel pressured by time. And when it's just you and Spirit, you don't have to worry about what anyone else out there is thinking or how people are going to see you. In the privacy of your own thoughts and your conversations with the Most High in Spirit, there is a whole lot of unconditional love. You'd be surprised. Okay. So the card says you have the ability to connect with the beings of love who surround you, communicate with your angels, and deliver their healing messages to others. Okay, so even through this process of getting to know yourself, understand yourself, and look at yourself, you learn. You learn about yourself, not about the next person or the outside world. You learn about yourself. And in the end, you learn how to recognize things in other people. You learn how to manage yourself in ways that other people around you, who you initially resonated with, who you initially thought, were the bee's knees and the end all and be all, and who knew a whole lot and, were the ones to look up to. You elevate out of that vibration and that perspective, and it's okay. Be okay to let it go. Be okay to let it go. I'm gonna read what the book has to say about communicate with your angels and wrap up our video. Okay, so the book says you have angels around you who wish to bring you healing and guidance. We all have the ability to communicate with them, but for some people, it is as if for some people, it is as if they're listening to one radio station while their angels are communicating on another frequency. To tap into divine guidance, you must raise your vibration to match theirs. Energy of the bird of paradise, which is the flower. The bird of paradise is the flower on the card. Okay, it's the name of the flower. Well, to tap into the energy of the bird of paradise will help uplift you and open your channels of communication. Meditate on this flower's image, and you'll notice very real sensations as you connect with your loving angels. If you've already been in contact with these celestial beings, this card asks you to take the next leap of faith by sharing the messages you receive with the world. Additional meanings to this card: clear your chakras, begin giving speeches, teach workshops, offer angel and flower readings to others. Your intuition is increasing. Trust your gut feelings. Okay. I really hope this video has been a support. I hope it arrives with you at the right time. And yeah, if it's resonated, family, please do like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye.